بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back to my channel QHE Tajweed Rules of the Quran channel in English. We're still under the chapter of the articulation point of the letters, makharij al-huruf al-arabiyya. And today, inshallah, we will go for the al-lisan. And we still under al-lisan, the articulation points of the tongue. Last classes we finished the edge of the tongue and we finished the deepest part of the tongue and we finished the middle of the tongue. Today, inshallah, we will go through the tip of the tongue. To remind you very quickly about the tongue picture, al-lisan, the tongue has 10 articulation points for 18 letters. This area is the root of the tongue. Farthest part of the tongue is here and we finish it in the classes before. Middle of the tongue we finish it too in the classes before. And you can back in the description box under the video in your right hand there is a black arrow. If you click on it you will find all the links for each lesson in this chapter. You can go through any lesson you want. Here today, inshallah, we will talk about the tip and top of the tongue. This is our next classes. This area is the edge of the tongue. We finish it in the last two classes. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Today, inshallah, our lesson, it will be طرف اللسان, the tip of the tongue. How many letters we have in the tip of the tongue and how many articulation points? We have 5 articulation points for 11 letters. Tip of the tongue looks like very important. 5 articulation points for 11 letters and Arabic letters total 29. So it's too much. It's not less letters come from the tip of the tongue. What this letter is, we have letter Noon, and this is our first articulation point. We have letter Ra, and this is our second articulation point. And we have letter Ta, and Ta, and Dal. This is one articulation point. These 3 letters come out from it. And we have letter Sad, and Sin, and Za, and this has come from one articulation point 2. Now we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 articulation point. Our 5th articulation point from the tongue is for the letters Dha and Dhal and Tha. Each group of the letters come from one articulation point. I color it for you with same color. Today, inshallah, we will talk about first articulation point here, which is letter Noon. تخرج من طرف اللسان مع ما يحاذيه من لثة الثنايتين العليتين تحت مخرج اللام قليلا ويصاحبها غنة من الخيشوم. This is what? This is Noon. And this is the articulation point of Noon. Let's see this by English. The tip of the tongue with the gums opposite of it, gum of the front in scissors. It is accompanied by gunna from the nasal passage. It is articulation point is lower than the lam articulation point. Let's explain this more in a picture and let's go and explain letter Noon more clear to understand what we mean by the gunna. It's coming with the Noon articulation point. We have note number 1. This articulation point of Noon, it's 4. And focus in this point, please. It's a very important point, and it's very rare to find someone to explain it for you or notice this point for you. This articulation point of Noon, it's 4 noon with sukun or tanween. It's for noon with sukun or tanween. So when I say an, it's come from the articulation point we just explained. We will explain more this articulation point. We just noun about it. We just say the definition of it. Or tanween, because tanween, it's noon sakina. It's still noon sakina. This articulation point of noon is with harakatu. When I say anna, when I say nahnu, okay? When I say anni, okay? This is the same articulation point of that all the time in the noon with haraka. It's the same articulation point with shadda. An, inna, okay? Or it's the same articulation point when I have noon merged with another noon, like for example, word min ni'ma. In all these cases, I hit my tip of the tongue with the gum of the two front incisor teeth, the two upper teeth. We will see more examples right now, inshallah. But, and this is the important point, it's not the articulation point for the ikhfa. This articulation point we just say it, it's not the same articulation point of ikhfa. Why it's not the same articulation point of ikhfa? Because in ikhfa, our tongue be closer to the letter after noon in the word. For example, if I say word fansab, fansa, fansa, I'm not putting my tongue in the noon. If I put it in the noon, it will be wrong. Don't say fansab. It's clear noon now. It should be fansab. So my tongue is closer to the letter of sad. I will put for you right now in the top of the screen the link of the ikhfa, the lesson of ikhfa before. Go back for it. You will see a lot of nice information about ikhfa. You will understand it more by this. Plus, I will put it inshallah in the description box under the video. You will find the link of video of ikhfa. So the ikhfa is not the articulation point of.
Then it is not in the articulation point of noon. It is not the articulation point of noon for ikhfa, and we just explained it. Aqlab, like mem bakhila. Mem. I don't say man, I say mem. So meme, okay? So I don't hit the articulation point of noon at all. The idgham noon with other letters. So I mean by other letters, any other letters except the noon with noon. So because we said min ni'ma, for example, noon with noon, this is the articulation point of noon. But if I say, for example, man ya'mal, now I didn't hit the noon articulation point at all. I just use the ghunna in the letter noon from the nasal passage, and I use the articulation point of ya. So inshallah, this point is clear for everyone.
Another note here, and it's very important. Letter noon, the scholars call the tongue part of the noon al-mukammal. And the scholars call the nasal part of the noon al-mukammil. What I mean by that? I meant by that, when you say an, the sound is go, part of it for the mouth and part of it continue from the nose. So the mouth area or the tongue area, the place my tongue hit the articulation point of noon, this is the part of mukammil. And the other sound it's go to my nose, it's mukammil, it's continues the sound. So this is the main part of the articulation point, but this one is continue the articulation point of noon. So noon, it should to be from these two parts together at the same time, the tongue and the nose, al-khayshum. Inshallah, this is clear for you. Example for letter noon. Word أنعمت. This is noon sakina here. ونحن نسبح. Another noon with حركة. عجبا أن. I'm still hit the same articulation point with tanween. من نعمة. I'm still hit the same articulation point with the noon merge with another noon. You can back for the idgham lessons. I will put for you the link of it in the top of the screen right now in the white circle. The mistake I hear most of the time from non-Arab in letter noon. Two main mistakes. Focus. Two main mistakes. First mistake, they make the noon heavy and noon is light. They say un. What's their mistake here? Let's back for this picture and see. What's their mistake? This is your tongue hit this gum, like you see. What they made, they put this part up. Wrong. This is wrong. All your tongue should to be back, nothing up except the tip of the tongue hitting this area. And this is the first mistake. Second mistake I heard from non-Arab too, which is when they say what's the problem here? They hit this area with their tongue. Tip of the tongue is hit here instead of the gum, which is wrong. And I hear this in noon and dal and ta sometimes and in several letters. Wrong. Al, wrong. Ad, wrong. All this wrong. Here in the gum, not in the top of the tongue, of the mouth, not in the palate. In the gum, not in the palate. Okay, inshallah, this is clear for you. Let's back here and see the shahid of jazariya for this letter. وَالنُّونُ مِنْ طَرَفِهِ تَحْتُ جَعَلُوا means the noon is coming from the tip of the tongue. تحت means what? Under what? Under the articulation point of Laam. Because the line before it's say وَاللَّامُ أَدْنَاهَا لِمُنْتَهَاهَا وَالنُّونُ مِنْ طَرَفِهِ تَحْتُ جَعَلُوا. So the noon is from the tip of the tongue under the Laam, make it under the Laam. اجعلوا means make it under the Laam articulation point. Inshallah, this is clear for you. By this, our lesson for today is completely done. جزاكم الله خيرا to watch my channel QHE Tajweed Rules of the Quran channel in English. If you don't subscribe yet, please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any class. If you are not share the videos yet, please go ahead and share it and don't forget to like and put for me a comment about anything you don't understand or about anything you want to ask about. And any comment you want. جزاكم الله خيرا to watch my channel QHE Tajweed Rules of the Quran channel in English. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.